What's going on, everybody? Back here with another video for the Twilight and Fury map. And today I'm going to be going over another faction spotlight with the Sardakk Nor. So in Twilight Imperium, you have a spectrum of factions that range from more political and diplomacy oriented to the other end of the spectrum, which is more combat and battle oriented. And this faction, the Sardakk Nor, definitely on that battle side of the spectrum, as we'll see. All their abilities and technologies that are unique to the faction have to do with combat. And they're the only faction that starts the game with zero technologies. You could technically say that the Wanu starts with zero technologies, but right away in the setup phase, they get to pick their first technology. So Sardakk Nor starts the first round with no technologies. But we'll still be able to see all the faction text here in the demo. Starting with the flagship, the Samora Nor, we have a passive ability to apply +1 to the result of each of your other ship's combat rolls in this system, and with the sustained damage ability. So we're not going to be looking at this in the demo, just because it's pretty vanilla. But there it is. Scrolling down here, one of the Sardakk Nor's faction technologies will come in the form of a unit here, and that is the Exotrireme Dreadnought. So the faction tech is the Exotrireme 2. And that has probably one of the strongest combat abilities in the game, which we'll see when we hop over to the demo tab. And then we have one ability, Unrelenting, passive ability, apply +1 to the result of each of your unit's combat rolls. So here we have this green plus sign, and you can see that underneath every unit's combat value, you got the plus. So what that means is that a Dreadnought actually has a combat value of 4, not 5, right? So standard 5 combat, but then in battles, you're going to add that modifier of +1. So if you're able to stack that with the flagship, it's pretty good. So let's hop over to the game tab here. I have the Sardakk Nor tab open. Before we look at anything else, let's take a look at faction technologies. So first, I was just talking about the Exotrireme 2. So that's your Dreadnought upgrade. And it reads that this unit cannot be destroyed by direct hit action cards. So that's normal for upgraded Dreadnoughts, but the unique ability is that after a round of space combat, we could destroy this unit to destroy up to 2 ships in the system. And this is a really interesting ability and really powerful, because the wording here says, first of all, it says you may destroy this unit to destroy up to 2 ships in the system. So that means we get to pick which ships we want to destroy. And furthermore, we're not assigning hits with this ability. We're actually destroying ships. And that's a key difference here, because when you assign hits, the players have the ability to use sustained damage if they're capable. But in this case, we totally bypass the sustained damage portion, right? So if we're in combat here with another player who has, say, like a War Sun that hasn't sustained the damage yet, we can just immediately just take that War Sun out. And in fact, if there's 2 War Suns, we could take both of those War Suns out without having sustained damage. This is a really scary unit upgrade. But you notice that it has to be done after the round of space combat. So you're gonna have to survive the round with your Exotrireme 2 intact. Okay, so the other technology is the Valkyrie particle weave. So Valkyrie particle weave says, after making combat rolls during a round of ground combat, if your opponent produced one or more hits, you produce one additional hit. So that's a nice little technology to have in case of ground combat there, right? That's a warfare tech with 2 warfare prerequisites. So in this video, I want to mainly focus on showing off the mechanics behind the Exotrireme 2 ability. All the other abilities are pretty passive. I mean, they are passive, right? Unrelenting and Valkyrie particle weave. But again, it's nice because if you are in the ground combat, right, and your opponent produces a hit, you don't have to tell your opponent, oh, by the way, I have Valkyrie particle weave. You gotta assign yourself an extra hit because you rolled a hit. It'll just automatically, when it gets to your opponent's turn to assign hits, if you hit them 0 times, they're gonna have to actually assign a hit automatically because of Valkyrie particle weave. So we're not gonna get to that, but we're gonna show off here the Exotrireme 2. Okay, so let's see. We've got a space combat going on here. And we got the Federation of Soul that has 2 carriers, a destroyer, and 3 fighters, and 1 infantry floating in space there. And we have cruiser, 1 Exotrireme 2, 2 Exotrireme 2s, and 2 infantry floating up in space there. So we've already rolled for the combat for both players. Now if we go over to the roll summaries, we'll look at our roll summary, produced 3 hits. And you'll notice here that the Exotrireme, right, has a combat value of 5. And so here we rolled a 4, but it produced a hit, and that's because of the Unrelenting modifier, the passive faction ability that applied +1 to our combat rolls. So we rolled a 4, but we add 1 to produce the hit. Right? And then our opponent here produced 1 hit with this fighter. So the first thing we're going to do is resolve this ability before assigning hits. And we're going to sustain damage on our Dreadnought here, on our Exotrireme 2. We'll do that, and we'll get the prompt that we've sustained damage. Now, on the other hand here, if Alice tries to play a direct hit card, we'll get the message, cannot apply direct hit. Upgraded Dreadnoughts are immune to direct hits. So that's nice. So pass here. And pass here. And so that 1 hit now has been absorbed by our Exotrireme 2. So we'll pass. And now we're at the stage where we're resolving abilities before Alice assign hits. And Alice can't absorb any damage because she has no upgraded carriers. We'll pass through this. Okay, and then we'll get Alice to assign her 3 hits here. Let's say she assigns 3 hits to her fighters. Okay, confirm that. The fighters are gone. Okay, and now we get to the stage here of resolving an ability after a round of space combat. And hovering over the Exotrireme 2, the Exotrireme 2 reads, after a round of space combat. So here is giving us the okay to perform the Exotrireme 2 ability. Alright. Now, if we refresh the screen here, we'll see that we have indeed sustained damage with one of our dreadnoughts. Now, at this point, maybe we want to use the Exotrireme 2 ability to take out 2 of the remaining 3 ships. So, from a tactical standpoint, we would definitely want to destroy our Exotrireme 2 that has already sustained damage. Right? This Exotrireme 2 is currently worth more value the next round of combat than this one because it can absorb a hit. So when we go to select the ship, the dreadnought to destroy, we're going to go up to our units here and click the dreadnought model. Not click the dreadnought model. See, this is why I do these videos, to even remind myself. We're going to double click not the model, but the technology, right? And we get this prompt here that says Exotrireme 2 ability activated. Now you might be wondering, how do I know which Exotrireme I get to choose to destroy? Well, the game will automatically pick one that has already sustained damage. It's going to optimize that for you automatically. And if, let's say we hadn't sustained damage, like let's say we assigned a hit to our carrier, and so these both had their sustained damages intact, well then the game would warn you that you're about to sacrifice a dreadnought that has its sustained damage intact, right? But yeah, if you want to activate the ability, don't click the model like I did. Click the faction technology. So click it. Now, the game says choose up to 2 enemy ships to destroy at the expense of your dreadnought. And we get these tabs here to choose from, right? So we have destroyer, destroy 1, carrier, destroy 1, or carrier, destroy 2. And canceling this and going back to the screen, those are all the possible combinations, right? We can destroy 1 destroyer and 1 carrier, or we can destroy 2 carriers, right? Well, let's see what happens if we try to do more than 2 ships, right? So if we click, let's say, carrier, destroy 2, so check that off, and destroyer, destroy 1. So that's all the ships, right? If we try to confirm that, we get invalid number of units selected. 3. You may only select a maximum of 2 enemy units to destroy. So then, instead, if I just try to click carrier, destroy 2 and confirm, then we'll get the confirmation message, right? If I try to do carrier, destroy 2 and carrier, destroy 1, I mean, that's impossible. So, yeah, we get invalid number of units selected. So let's do that. Let's double click and destroy 2 carriers and confirm. Now, we get the prompt that Charlie used the Exotrireme 2 ability. A Sardakk Nor dreadnought was destroyed to destroy enemy ships. See game log for details. So going up to the game log, we can see the detail here that we chose a carrier and a carrier. And refreshing the board, indeed we see that our dreadnought that had already sustained damage was the dreadnought that got destroyed, right? Not the one that has sustained damage intact. All right. So that's Exotrireme 2. And that's pretty much it for the Sardakk Nor. Yeah, I'm not gonna go over Valkyrie particle weave. I'll just have it there to show you. So really, I mean, as developers, this faction was pretty easy to implement. Let me just show you here, because we're back to our turn at resolve and ability after on a space combat, that you'll notice Exotrireme 2, it doesn't say we're limited to destroying one of the ships in a turn. We could destroy our other dreadnought here. And you'll notice if I double click it, now we get the warning message. Warning, you only have dreadnoughts that have not yet sustained damage. So doing this would be not in our interest here. So we do get that warning message. But anyways, yeah, like I was saying, as developers, this was definitely one of the easiest factions to implement here, because there's only one real active ability you have to worry about from a user interaction point of view, right? All right, so that's the Sardakk Nor. That completes our 4th faction spotlight. So the next faction spotlight will either be the Federation of Sol or the Emirates of Hakan, depending. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.